you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this podcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, April 14th, 2025. Where has the year gone? But more importantly, what? We're talking about drones again? Oh, yeah. What's old is new, what's new is old, and my gosh, my friends, we've got a whole big show ahead of you this evening. Welcome, everybody. On that note, let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and fire up those drums, which I already did. And let's go ahead and welcome in our audience. Who in the heck do we have out there? Let's welcome in Alien Bikers here along with Anton Ghost. Azrael Aries is here along with BW Broom. Yes, that's the brand my ex-wife flies. Brian Morgan's here along with Digger Dog. Firefly Frazzle says. Geraldine Durazio's here along with Jared Rosenthal. We got J-Cat, Kathy, Kelly Brotner's piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly Brot. Along with Johnny UFO and Clipper and Maritime Unprepared. Well, would you look at that? We have Marcus and the Mandels is here, along with Marty S, Megan Betts, Michelle Hong, Mr. Joey B, Nancy Kuzmano, and our resident Pitbull. Niles guys here. Good to see you, my friend. Peggy and her South Florida friends. That includes Peggy, Crockett Tubbs, and of course, a big hug for Steve. Let's see. Ram is here along with RHEC. Roni Deal is here. Good to see you, Roni. Ricardo Jr. Roland Ruffready, Sam, Sharon Rose, and Shelly Montgomery. Good to see you, Shelly. Surreal's here along with Skip Malou, Super Unknown, the Chromosome Cowboy, the Woman on Mars. There you go. Tom Clark's here along with Truck and Pawpaw. Two midgets on a horse are back for some more damage. William Underwood's here along with Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy, and our dear friend F5 Twister. Must be a weather watcher. How about that? On that note, my friends, let's go ahead and take a look and welcome in our panel in the back. Remember, this is your chance. If you have something you want to say, you have something you want to be a part of, go ahead and follow that link at the top of the chat, and we'll let you right in and be a part of the show, my friends. All right, let's see who in the heck we have in the back. Our first guest is coming to us all the way from the great state of Florida. Let's welcome in the one, the only, the stupendous Alice W. How's it going, Alice?
Hey, thanks for that introduction. It's going pretty good. This may be one of the first years I've experienced a spring in Florida. The weather's been beautiful.
Nice.
Usually it goes right from cold to hot, but
you're getting something in between this time, yeah. Well, thank you for coming in, Alice. Yeah, all the trees are in bloom. The rhododendrons in the back.
Yeah, the allergies are killing me, but
they're knocking out Luke. He doesn't think it's allergies, but based on all the pollen that's in the air, it's allergies.
Yeah, my voice is off.
Well, thank you for coming in, Alice. Our next guest is coming to us from the great state of Colorado. Who could it be? Well, it's Ashes. Good to see you, Ashes.
I'm feeling good, like I should. I put on my Monday best. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. 5 o'clock in the morning does your body good. For getting up for work, that is.
Well, I just want to remind everybody to show some love because we love you.
Oh, thank you very much, Ashes. And that reminds me, I've got to fix your name because it's a little dragging off to the side. There you go. Perfect. Thank you for coming in, Ashes. Our next friend is coming to us from the great state of Indiana. We could call him a Hoosier because he is. Let's welcome in Daryl Zernick. How's it going, Daryl?
Going great, Thomas. Thanks. Looking forward to the show tonight and really looking forward to Friday's show because I'm already tired of Monday. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely. Thank you for coming in, my friend. Let's go ahead next and say, hey, Google, what time is it? Oh, he had it turned off. He knew I was going to do that. Let's get to our next friend. Coming to us from the great state of Texas, the one, the only Ed Brown, the recliner in chief. How's it going, Ed?
Well, it's going real well, Thomas. Good to be on the show tonight with you. Really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great show tonight, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And it was 88 degrees in Texas today.
Wow. Nice. It got to 65 and sunny here. Perfect convertible weather, I tell you. But thanks for coming in, Ed. Our next friend is coming to us. Well, where from? Well, let's say from Canada. Let's welcome in the man, the legend, FreezerMan71. How's it going, FreezerMan?
It's going great, Thomas. Congratulations on your show tonight. And I'm sure it's going to be good, buddy.
Well, I hope so. Fingers crossed, my friend. Thank you for coming in. Well, we have one more guest coming to us from the great state, the great country of Canada. But this person is from the province where all the U's are silent. Let's welcome in Michael Sokoloff. How's it going, Michael?
Going good, Thomas. We got sunshine, we got brown grass, and little piles of snow.
Oh, how nice. At least you don't have brown grass and little brown piles of snow that will be left over from the dogs.
That's
melting.
Right. Yeah, no.
Oh, there you go, my friend. Yeah, you can tell I've been there before, but not there. But anyway, thank you for coming in. Our last guest is coming to us in from the great state of Massachusetts. Yes, where some people may call him a masshole, but I like to call him Sergeant Daniel. How's it going, Sergeant?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I can add something useless.
Oh, you're always very useful, my friend.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well. Who do we hear there? Could that be Mike Disclosure, back from the land of clinics and pharmacies and strep throat?
Exactly. Yes, it is, my friend. Here to cover our Monday night show for drones and all things interesting to the public.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, a lot to talk about.
Who would have thunk that on April 14th, we're getting a drone update at this time of year? But there are some things happening that's worth going on, I tell you.
Absolutely. Plus, listen, we've been covering this from day one, and we know, and the public is well aware, we never got a straight answer on this subject, still, to this day.
Yeah, one of our viewers and a dear friend of the channel's, Attorney the EBEs, also known as our dear friend Michael the lawyer in the back sometimes. He's the one who actually brought the whole drone situation to our attention back on November 18th of last year, or 16th. Yeah, right around that time. Yeah, and we covered it as soon as we heard about it.
Absolutely, and it was daily coverage the entire time this was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we still never got a straight answer from the government on this.
But I don't think the government is still waiting to give us a straight answer, because let's just be honest, we have more than enough systems for going and watching what's going on from the surface of the earth out to beyond the orbit of the moon for them to say, oh, we didn't see anything. No, we don't know what this stuff could have been. Didn't the FAA say that? Yeah, we know what those things were, right? Yeah.
Never.
It's a cover-up, Mike. Flat out.
As Tim Burchett likes to say.
Oh, yes, he does, my friend. Yes, he does. Well, on that note, let's jump right into it. We've got a story here coming in from Marik von Rennenkampf. Who is Marik von Rennenkampf again, Mike? Oh, yeah, he's a former
intelligence analyst for the Pentagon.
Department of Defense. Yeah, we've got a little story, a back history on him for audience to see. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and watch this first video clip of the night. It'd be a good one. Where is that at? Where did I put it? Yeah, here we go.
Mysterious unknown drones piqued the interest of the public, politicians alike between 2024 and early 2025. Numerous reports of these flying craft were reported along the East Coast, specifically in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The FBI, DHS, FAA, and the DoD issued a joint statement in December declaring that they were not from an enemy, but instead from hobbyists, law enforcement planes, and helicopters mistaken for drones. UFOs.
Mystery objects exhibiting advanced technology are still loitering in our skies, apparently, at times near military installations and even close to nuclear power plants. Joining us now to dive in is Marik von Rennenkamp, a contributor for The Hill. Welcome, Marik.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I think for a lot of people, these drones dropped off the radar, so to speak, after that announcement that we alluded to in December. But you think that that is incorrect and that we should still be, I think, concerned about these things. So what's going on?
We should absolutely still be concerned about these sightings. And I just want to say that I bring a kind of a national security perspective to this. And I'm not so much focused on let's call it hysteria. A lot of what we did see in New Jersey was indeed hysteria. I have a minor bone to pick with your producers because the footage you showed was actually of an airliner. So there was a rampant misidentification in those New Jersey incidents that generated all those headlines. But I am far more concerned about 6 or 7 years now worth of intrusions, just brazen, blatant intrusions over sensitive military sites. And we can dive into those, but the bottom line is these objects have been hovering over nuclear missile facilities in Nebraska. They've been swarming ships 100 miles off the coast of California, as many as a dozen at a time. The only imagery that we've actually seen of these objects is of a spherical object that slowly moves across the screen in front of a Navy destroyer and then descends into the ocean. So it's a mystery, and somebody, from my perspective, some unknown actor is putting on just a brazen display of impunity.
Yeah, and just to go back a little bit to the varying explanations we've had of what these objects are from our government, I've been very dissatisfied with that because when this New Jersey incident happened, when we saw the drones there and the planes and helicopters that were misidentified, as you said, at first the government said that it was all hobbyists. It was nothing to worry about. It was private individuals using the drones. Well, then there were multiple reports of them flying over these military installations. Now, I don't think anyone believes that the government or the military would simply allow a hobbyist to fly a drone over a military installation and do nothing about it. And so, to me, that fuels the speculation that this is either government property or that of a foreign actor, and they're worried about sparking some kind of conflict if they decide to shoot them down. What's your take on that?
You hit the nail on the head, and I suspect that the vast majority of the government is truly mystified and stumped by this, and they're in kind of damage control mode, and they're just punting. They don't know what to say, so they punt. We saw this with the Biden administration. They had horrendous messaging on this. Trump pledged to get to the bottom of this on day one, and then as soon as he got into office, same thing, horrendous messaging. They have no answers. And I want to point your viewers to a recent 60 Minutes piece that actually there were 3 4-star generals, 2 recently retired and 1 active 4-star general, 2 of them responsible for aerospace defense over North America, NORAD. And those collectively, those 12 stars said, we have no idea what's going on. We tried jamming these objects. They are impervious to jamming. We have no imagery on them. And just to kind of bolster that point, the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Wicker, said, and he's a member of the Gang of 8, he is read into truly the highest security, the highest level security briefings available. And the direct quote is, the Pentagon is, quote, still mystified by these incursions after 5-6 years of consistent incursions, brazen incursions, again with flashing lights that occurred over and over and over. So this is a major issue, regardless of it's China, Russia, hobbyists, which I think we can, let's not rule anything out, regardless of its non-human intelligence, that buzzword. This is a major crisis. It's a concern, and nobody's really paying attention to it from my perspective.
So 2 things, Marik. One is in relation to the point you just raised. I was struck reading one of your recent pieces for The Hill about how long this has actually been going on, because I had thought that the drones thing basically came to prominence last fall, the period that we were alluding to in our introduction. And you mentioned the fact that back in 2019, objects with bright flashing lights swarmed some of the Navy's most advanced.
Really quick, Mike, I need to go ahead and jump in this broadcast halfway through. One of the concerning things I'm hearing in this is the overall lumping together of all of the different drone situations that we've had.
With actual UAPs.
With actual UAP, right.
Yeah, correct. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know if it's by accident or on purpose, but I know the narrative lately about these drones, especially from like Ross Coulthard, who has said that lack of any other information is now making him believe, and he said this on his own podcast, his show, Need to Know. He said that he believes more and more that it's actually UAP about these drones. Now, that doesn't have the ring of truth to it.
No, it sounds like Kool-Aid Man freaking breaking through the brick wall saying, oh, yeah, UFOs. Oh, my God.
Yeah, except that there's no direct evidence to support that, including, like you pointed out here on the show, it doesn't exhibit any of the 5 observables. So based on that, why would you assume it's anything but a prosaic drone?
Well, New Jersey ones, yes.
Yeah.
Highly prosaic. Either it was, misidentified craft, like aircraft or helicopters, other things that were around. There were some drones that were recorded and everything was going on, but way different from the ones we've seen over military bases, way different from the Tic Tac story we just covered last week, where it was actual Tic Tacs and things going on again in 2003 off the coast of Southern California.
From the Navy.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is different from the UAP that were, if you want to call it, shot down over Dead Horse, Alaska, over the Alaskan Yukon, then was seen over the nuclear missile base at Maelstrom. And I believe, isn't that where, what's his name?
Bob Salas.
Bob Salas was at?
Yes, he was in 1967.
And eventually
when the 10 ICBMs went down.
And eventually on the next day, that same one that was over Maelstrom was actually supposedly shot down over Lake Huron. Yeah, right. And then could be drones, could not be drones. But then again, we have all the different places where we had that situation going in the Midwest, if you want to call it the West. We had it where we had all the different drones that were coming in Colorado and that whole area for a period of time. Going in search patterns, looking for things. We didn't know what was going on at that point in time either. I think that was back around 2019. And there's been plenty of other bases and other sightings, plenty of nuclear power plants around the world that have had incursions of craft of a similar nature, not just in the United States.
Right. So they have been operating with impunity over restricted airspace like the UAP have done, but that doesn't make them UAP.
No.
Not in my opinion.
But even if they are UAP, we have to take in consideration that the head of the Air Force, remember the Air Force was put into play many years ago. Why? To go ahead and investigate the flying saucers and stuff that happened after Roswell. That was that was their initial task to go ahead and figure out. And the head of the Air Force for the longest time has said, well, UFOs, UAP, they're not a threat.
That's correct. And we were even hearing similar rumblings when Admiral John Kirby, the spokesman at the time for the previous administration, was telling the public that there's no threat and that any of the sightings that the public has seen so far, it could be their imagination, which was highly insulting.
You mean you bet your boots Kirby?
On this. Yeah, with John Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a slap in the face to everybody. But still, these drones, it doesn't make them UAP.
No, it
They're
doesn't.
not exhibiting any of the characteristics of a UAP. They're not shooting in at 15,000 miles an hour, and these things
hovering, doing their thing, and then taking off again. A lot of the stuff we're all seeing are under the characteristics of advanced drones from a potential foreign adversary or even potentially from our own government.
Correct. They're using navigation lights. They're blending in like a drone would do. But we still don't have any answers as far as or whose they are, where they're coming from, and what they're doing.
Right. Now, some people would say, oh, those are the drones just trying to go ahead and pretend like they're human craft. Like they would have to pretend like they're human craft. If they have craft, Mike, where they can be going at normal speeds, but they can be completely invisible to the naked eye or the radar, but you can only see them if you have a camera that can see down to negative like 40 or negative 60 degrees Celsius.
Right.
And that's the only way you'll be able to see these things. So they have the technique to be completely invisible to humans. There's no reason that they would want to have to really blend in and pretend that they're human technology when their technology is so advanced and there's no, if they can get in and get out without even getting caught in the roach trap, what's the point of pretending like you're something that you're not?
Why, in other words, if I understand your point correctly, why be seen when you have the ability to not be seen at all? Right, Thomas?
Bingo, yes.
You got it. No, you hit the nail on the head.
Now we do have
agree with that.
We do have 3 people in the back with their hands up before we continue on with this video. Let's go to Ed, then Alice, and then Sergeant Daniel, USMC.
Well, I'd like to undo your bingo that you all just came up with. The statement that if they can be invisible, they'd be invisible, or they do the 5 observables. I still say there could be a middle ground for that. And even when we argued this a couple of months ago, I said that I believe that they want to be seen, but they want to be seen blending in. That was my theory at the time. So
that was your hypothesis.
Well, okay, let's go with a hypothesis. I would say that that is a possibility. Drone looking, but UAP in reality.
Could be.
An interesting hypothesis.
If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and floats like a duck.
Well,
could be a duck.
Earlier you were talking about the 5 observables. Now I'll give you an example where it doesn't apply. What about Chris Bledsoe's The Lady? He sees an apparition. It's not exhibiting any of the 5 observables, but it is clearly an unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Allegedly, according to his testimony about it.
Yeah, well, if you make that assumption, my point is that it doesn't fit into the box. So we're trying to come up with examples of UAPs that just for some reason do not fit the 5 observables, but yet they still are unidentified. They still are anomalous, and they surely are phenomena.
Yeah, I see your point, but the question still is, why, like Thomas pointed out, why be seen when you have the ability to not be seen at all? Because if
you are going to be seen and you want to be seen, you want to be seen in a way that monumentally moves your movement forward, not just go ahead and disguise yourself like the Master of Disguises, Mr. Disguise.
Well, there you're trying to get into intent. So what is their intent? And what is the short-term intent there in New Jersey? What is their long-term intent? And we don't know the answers to that. Here's what I've said, and you've heard me say this before. I think they kind of play with us. I think they kind of tease us, and they kind of get us going a rabbit hole and then discover that that's the wrong rabbit hole, and we chase them down another rabbit hole. We're never going to catch them until they want to be caught, and that's my main point.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to bring out really quick, this is Ivan actually had put out. Let me just do a little. Ivan was just on the channel about a little bit more. Mike, let me go ahead and bring this one up here. Ivan Hannell, who was just on here recently, put out a tweet today saying, do you find it strange as to the intent of the non-human intelligence UAP? There are camps who each have their own take on it, but the framing is always very general. There are good ET or bad ET. My gosh, you know who that sounds just like Mike. I won't say Courtney Brown's name. Oops, I said it. The only ET are only good, Stephen Greer, or the ET have the capacity of being dangerous, and their intent is unknown. Now, after having many conversations with Ted Rowe, a dear friend of mine, I said, NHI are neither good nor bad, and are as far away from humanity as can be imagined. We shouldn't mistake our interpretation of their manifestations as indicators of their intent or morality. And I tagged Ted on it. Now, Ted's response was golden. We don't have to. We simply have to accept that an ET that commits kidnapping and assault would also lie to us and resist it. They don't need excuses or apologies. They just need to be stopped. And that's from a person who has had some very, let's say, violent interactions with the non-human intelligence against him. And that's just kind of where I see it and where I align to this.
Right, but it seems like there are accounts from Whitley Strieber, who has also had some violent encounters, but he's of a mind to go the Stephen Greer route and believes that they're here for good reasons, not bad. I don't subscribe to that theory.
No.
I agree with Ted Rowe and him analyzing this as it's something that should be considered to be a threat for the simple reason that we don't know anything about it. We have no control over it. We can't protect, defend, or do anything to make sure
stop them.
That
okay, imagine what would happen if the president of the United States got on television and said, yes, we are familiar with an ET, non-human intelligence, whatever you want to call it. We've been watching them since before 1947. They come, they leave without impunity. There's nothing we can do to stop them. They come, they take some of our people, they do things to them. Some of the people they bring back, some of the people they don't bring back, but there's nothing we can do. What do you think would happen with the general public if they actually came out and, oh, heck yeah.
It would be a disruption in normal society. There would be people panicking in the streets. It would be total chaos.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind would be able to make a statement like that publicly.
No, but we'd have redneck redemption, people shooting down whatever's in the skies over their house in fear that they're getting ready to be abducted.
Oh, you mean like we saw in New Jersey with the drones at one point?
Oh, yeah.
When they weren't getting answers and
the people were going out and trying to shoot the things down, yeah.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do in situations like that.
Exactly. Let's get on to Alice and then Daniel before we move on. Then we'll get to Ashes in a bit. Alice, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the word prosaic means. I looked it up, but it doesn't seem to have any...
Prosaic means within the scope of humanity, meaning it's something that could align to what humans have.
It means mundane, normal, ordinary.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sergeant Daniel, go for it.
All right, so, you have these drones, you said before that you don't think there's any breakthrough. You've talked to some of the scientists and stuff. They claim that there's really we haven't figured out how to fly these things, that it's way, way too advanced. Well, a lot of these things, you say you're not seeing observables, but they don't have a heat signature, and a lot of them you don't have any noise. I'll give you that some of them you did hear noise and it sounded like a helicopter, but a lot of them you didn't. And I think what you were looking at in the drones in New Jersey is a little of both. I think that, there were UAPs mixed in with some of the stuff that we had. But in order to have 15 or 20 of them, that is a very large footprint. That's a lot of people working on a lot of things. And to keep all that stuff secret would be an amazing feat. It would be absolutely amazing because, if you have 15 of them, or 30 of them, or whatever was flying around the Coast Guard cutter. That's huge. If you're going to fly 30 planes off of a flight deck of an aircraft carrier, which I was on, that's a lot of people looking at
That's a lot of people, and supposedly it came out a couple months ago. There was big knowledge. I even believe Marin von Reinkamp covered this, that Terradynamics was actually testing their XP4 or XP5 platforms that I actually have on the title card for, where is that at?
Yeah, but they
Today's
don't have
show.
15 or 30 of them.
No, they were testing high numbers because they were going ahead and getting their AI systems up to have the drones. Anytime you're trying to go ahead and train an AI model, you need a lot of data, and supposedly that was going on with the drones that looked exactly like this, because that is the XP5.
I don't know. They're shutting down airports and stuff. I'm with Ed. I think that they're UAPs. I think that This is the way that they're going to make themselves known. They just gave everybody a little taste of
Well,
what's going
if they're
on.
going to make themselves known and they want to make themselves known, they're not going to make themselves look like the drone. They're going to look like what they usually look like. They're not going to disguise themselves as advanced drone technology.
I think they're a lot smarter than us, and I think that whatever tactic they take would probably be some kind of quantum.
So what would be the
computer,
reason that a UAP would want to come in and fly over all the place, and they want it to look like that? We want them to recognize them as a UAP, but they're disguising themselves as prosaic technology. For me, that just doesn't. Mike, do you see where I'm coming from on this?
Doesn't have the ring of truth.
No.
There's an old saying, either shit or get off the pot. If they want to announce themselves, they would goddamn well do it. And if they're not, then it's not what you think it is. Look, when we were covering this daily, day in and day out, the public in New Jersey that were having these objects go over their residential homes in the middle of the night, and they were these drones weren't a single object, and they were out there by the dozens, 50, 60 at a time. We had women in their late 60s that were filing reports that these objects were peering in their bathroom windows in the middle of the night in their homes. So what does that make them? Sounds like perverts to me, but that doesn't mean they're UAP. Whatever the hell it was something we had no control over, but it doesn't sound like it would be NHI or UAP operating like that.
Oh, how do you come up with a no heat signature? And they couldn't see them on radar, and they couldn't disable them.
Which radar?
Well, that's what.
Well, if we're looking at the radar that's available from the FAA, they don't see a full radar. They see a representation of the images shown with symbols. And if something doesn't have a transponder on it, they're not going to see anything.
The Tedesco brothers, they said that they were talking about how they shot the radar at it, and it did all sorts of stuff and sent it back.
Well, that was Tedesco brothers, certain things that were seen out over the ocean that was different from what was going on with the New Jersey drones.
But that was off
Again,
the
we're
coast of
trying
New
to
York and
take
New
a
Jersey.
bunch of different things and throw them all into the same bucket when they don't deserve to be in the same bucket. We got the grand prize game here going, and Bozo actually Ringmaster Ned wants us to get it in so we can win the prize. Everything deserves its own bucket.
I still think, like Ed, I do think that we did have our own drones up there looking to see what the heck's going on. What do these things want? But I think that they don't think they're a threat because they've been around for 50 years. They've known they've been around for 50 years or whatever. We
haven't seen drones like this flying around for the last 50 years.
Not at all.
Well,
for the last 5 years, for the last 2 years, the thing that happened in New Jersey is different than any of the other drone sightings that's going on. We have to stop getting into the mindset of throwing all the different sightings we're seeing out there and throw them into the same drone bucket. It's what I keep on talking about. But we keep on going back there.
Well, I think the government knew what some of them were, but I think that the ones that were invading the Air Force and the Army bases and
different from the New Jersey drones.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think the government, when they said that they're not a threat, they know that those have been doing that for a very long time.
Well, the ones that were saying that weren't a threat, that was in regards to the specific comments coming from the head of the Air Force saying that UAP are not a threat. We've never heard that the drones on the East Coast were not a threat. No one's ever made that statement yet.
No, the only thing we got out of Admiral Kirby was that the public is imagining these objects. They're just commercial air flights, which is insulting. And
commercial drones, for that matter.
Well, no, he also said it was passenger commercial airlines.
Yeah. And actually, some of the videos out there that we saw that we thought that were like, oh my God, look at some of these videos out there. These look phenomenal. They turned out to be planes, Mike.
Right. Which are not UAP.
Right. Exactly. Let's go ahead and move on in this if we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get Ashes. Go ahead, since we've had that in here. We got a couple more minutes, another minute or so, and kill us before we get back to this video. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick, they have developed technology that doesn't produce a high of
radar signature
as a combustion engine. That would be things like a hydrogen fuel cell. Also, there are electric engines that don't produce as high. And they have what's called phantom skin. It's nanotechnology, and it can hide thermal traces.
Oh, wow.
The other thing I was going to say is that they can camouflage themselves by distorting pixels around them. And I'm going to look at this name real quick because I can't remember the name. It's called... Okay, it says reflective coatings or pixelated panels blend drones into surroundings, reducing visual detection. BAE, Bay Systems panels mimic backgrounds, and they have been tested on drones. So if you notice, right after the New Jersey sightings, they used drones over in the Ukraine area. And I'm wondering if maybe they were testing it here.
No,
with
completely different technologies. The stuff that's going on in Ukraine is more homegrown technology. The stuff that may have been tested on the East Coast was from a company called Pterodynamics.
Okay.
But great, interesting to see how you're trying to connect the dots. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's get back to this video now, shall we, Mike?
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Warships over the coast of California. There was an instance in 2023 over an Air Force base, and this goes beyond the US as well. There was a series of incursions over American bases in the UK. So firstly, this has been going on a while. Secondly, it has a large geographical range. But thirdly, what is your best guess as to what this is all about?
Scottish.
Now we're getting into speculation territory where I'm fairly, frankly, uncomfortable going. But I have a hard time that China or Russia or an adversary would do such a brazen display. So I'll just take the Langley Air Force Base example, which is in 2000.
Again, Langley Air Force Base, different from the New York drones or New Jersey drones. Let's call it. Just being clear.
Late 2023, for 17 nights, objects with bright flashing lights hovered and flew over that facility. The Air Force, the FBI, and NASA, which has a facility there, were clueless. They were completely outgunned. They had no idea what to do and what to make of these incidents, which is extraordinary. So I have a hard time thinking
but those drones themselves are only moving hundreds of miles an hour. They weren't moving at any kind of a hyper speed, Mike. So to go ahead and say what's going on with these things, yes, they were flying very low to the ground. They were coming in one at a time, following with the water, following the same path time after time, coming into Langley Air Force Base. A very interesting situation, but again, while we couldn't go ahead and lock onto them or figure out what it is, Mike, I have to say this screams something more of an adversarial country going ahead and doing observation over Langley. And Langley is just not an Air Force base. It's also the main base of operations for who? Yeah, the CIA, right, Mike?
Central Intelligence Agency, Langley, Virginia. It's a hotspot over there.
Oh, heck yeah.
And a foreign adversary would definitely want to be doing ISR. So they'd be using it for reconnaissance. But, you know, our government still hasn't been able to control these objects. They have been running around with impunity right up until today. They're still around. The mainstream media is not covering it, but people who live there are. And this is still an ongoing issue, and there's no answers and no way to mitigate what's going on with these objects. So, you know, everyone's at a loss. The government should have provided at least more information about it. And it's funny because during the previous administration, at least towards the tail end of it, when President Trump was campaigning, he said the same thing, that administration should have been releasing this information to the public. No reason not to.
Right.
But they didn't.
Right.
And now we're getting the same from this
And now we're in the Trump administration, and we're getting a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
It feels like we're mushrooms. We're kept in the dark and fed nothing but bullshit about these drones, Mike.
But the question is, why the big cover-up on something that's supposed to be prosaic in nature? It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's making people jump to conclusions that
Because
it's something beyond that.
Because either A, what was going on the New Jersey drones was an operation to go ahead and track down something that got beyond our borders. 2, it was a situation put forward for us. We needed to rapidly train with AI, ML learning, if you want to call it machine learning, to have it deal with all these different situations of flying around, dealing with all these things. Either way, it has the signature of a government operation, whether it's our own government or a foreign government operation, with regards to specifically New Jersey. Now, the other situations, the stuff that happened in Langley, that sounds like a foreign adversary. It sounds like China and Russia working together hand in hand.
Right, but like Marin von Renkamp pointed out, and he's correct about this, if in fact there were incursions that were coming from a foreign adversary within the continental United States over restricted airspace,
war.
That is a declaration of war. There's no way around it.
Completely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we want to try and avoid, isn't it?
Oh, hell yeah. But think about this. It's not just a simple matter of them launching a drone and it's 1, 2, 3 to just go over Langley Air Force Base. No, they had a lot of logistics in place here on the ground to be able to do that. And if they're going to go that far and put that an amount of effort into it, and they know damn well what the risks are, I don't think they would be motivated to do that because
right now remember,
no one wants war.
When the stuff was going over Langley, they had to move the F-35s and F-22s to the airbase Oceana, yeah.
Yep.
Now
that's right.
That says definitely not ours, definitely potentially our adversaries. If they're disabling our aircraft from to be able to take off and do their actual missions like they have been scheduled towards.
Right, but again, if they got caught doing that, that is an automatic declaration of war. No way around it. So
and sometimes, even though things are going on, we want to keep our feet out of that kind of swampy water.
Yeah, because nobody wants to go and start the third World War. It's not worth it. To snap a couple of pictures about Langley? No, it's definitely not worth that. So yeah, but this is why people are jumping to conclusions, because there are no answers. And if it was simply our craft, our objects that are conducting research, then state that, explain it, then provide the proof. But we haven't gotten that either.
We haven't gotten the put up or shut up, Mike.
No, we haven't. And that's why people are still talking about this and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because it's still ongoing as well.
And by the way, skip to Malou. That wasn't a giant rocket ship. That was a giant vibrator, to be honest.
Oh, you're talking about Bill Gates's blue penis?
No, we're talking about not Bill Gates. We're talking about Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin.
Jeff Bezos.
The rocket ship that looks like it's a giant penis. I'm just going to say it looks like a giant vibrator. Let's just be honest.
Okay. That's the one that they had all those women go on board.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And they were singing and having a fun time and screaming.
Interesting.
Here we go. Let's continue.
An adversary would be so brazen because that risks a major geopolitical crisis. It's possible, but it does risk a major geopolitical crisis. Rule number 1 of surveillance is be stealthy, don't be caught. And bright flashing lights tends to kind of go against that that basic of tradecraft, of intelligence collection tradecraft. Hobbyists, I have a hard time believing that. So that raises countless questions. The plot really thickens, Niall, when you look back to the historical record, and there are numerous documented incidents. This is in government records where objects with bright flashing lights hovered, flew in formation over sensitive military facilities. I'll give you one example. In 1965, several hundred objects were observed by nuclear missile security forces above F.E. Warren Air Force Base. And if you read the report, it's exactly what we're seeing today.
So, talking to other people who cover this issue, one of the things I hear consistently is that there's effectively two reasons why the U.S. government will never admit that they are mystified by these objects. One,
oh, let's hear it. Come on. What's reason one?
of course, is not to cause public panic, but the other is that if these are flying objects that are from the Chinese or the Russians, the U.S. would be effectively admitting to their global adversaries that they are not familiar with technology that they possess. Do you think that that is a possibility? And sorry to put you back in speculation zone again, but is it possible that China does have some kind of aircraft, that technology that the U.S. doesn't have access to, and they're reluctant to admit that publicly because they don't want to give China the win?
It's absolutely possible. I'm open to all scenarios, but my analytic brain tends to doubt that theory because the Chinese, you can just look this up, right? They've struggled with basic jet engine technology. They copy and steal, frankly, a lot of the technology that they put out.
Hold on a second here, Mike. I need to go ahead and interrupt this broadcast. To go ahead, who is the first country to go ahead and bring out a 6th generation fighter without the rear wing on it? Is it the United States or is it China?
Oh, it's China.
So to go ahead and say China doesn't have the technology, China doesn't have all this stuff, go ahead and do these things. No. That is so far from the frickin' truth, because China does have the capabilities. They do have advanced technology, and whether or not they've stolen it from us, the truth of the matter is they're bringing it to market before we can. Right?
Right. That's absolutely, and they're bringing it out publicly. They're not hiding it.
No. Let's get to Ed Brown. Your hand is up, my friend. I know.
Well, we got a lot of territory to cover here, Thomas, from back a few minutes ago when you are talking about the comparisons. The other comparison is that neither the drones in New Jersey nor the Langley drones were able to be captured by our intelligence people. I mean, I think that is significant. You can say that there are different capabilities, but yet neither were captured. Now,
okay, they weren't able to be captured. Which generally, but the characteristics of the craft shows it as a advanced, prosaic technology, not an advanced non-human intelligence technology, because we've seen the difference between the two, and we just have to recognize that.
Well, I still say they could have shot that down, and people say, well, that's over land. No, it's not. Langley is sitting right on the ocean.
Right on the water, and if they wanted to shoot them down, but here's the thing. They don't have the capability. I mean, they have the capability, but they don't have the authorization to shoot anything down. That was one thing that was part of the Biden administration that was there from legacy. You know what? If we are getting craft that are coming over our sensitive military sites, they bring it to Trump's attention, he will frickin' sign the paper immediately to go ahead and authorize those things to be shot down.
Well, let's look at the balloons that they finally shot down, over Canada and Alaska. That
you mean the one they shot down off of South Carolina, off in the ocean?
That's that one too. So they finally did it. Well, back to this idea: could it be an adversary, China or Russia?
Yes.
And I kind of agree with the side that it is not. If they've got that advanced technology, it's not a matter of starting World War III.
But that balloon we saw was completely different from what we saw coming up to Langley. You can't take one and just we're trying for convenience to throw things in the same bucket. And I'm sorry, I just can't align to the whole concept of, I know you're there, Ed, and I respect you for it, but I just can't align to the concept that what we're seeing, especially over Langley, is a UFO pretending to be something that's prosaic? Because for me, that just doesn't make sense.
But look at the outcome, Thomas. It doesn't matter if it's a UAP, alien UAP of some type, unknown to us, absolutely foreign. It doesn't matter. If it wants to destroy us, it can. If that technology is as impressive as what we're describing it as being, then China or Russia, whoever it owns it, could also destroy us without.
No,
our
they could.
ability.
Well, they could cause a problem. They couldn't
way.
destroy us. Let's be honest.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
I don't think they'd have the opportunity to go ahead and destroy us, honestly.
Well, you know, again,
What do you think? They're going to have a nuclear warhead on their little craft?
Could.
Well, we'd learn pretty quickly, wouldn't we?
Yeah, all it would take is one shot. We'd know.
Oh, yeah.
But when Kirby was talking about this, it looked to me like he was scared to death about what he had to read off that sheet of paper.
Oh, God, no. Kirby is just, well, that's just bet your boots Kirby. He's afraid that he's going to have to go ahead and tell the truth for once. Thank God he is out of a job.
But remember, they reversed themselves on that. The very first announcement said the FAA in that group of other people
right.
had no idea what this
there's
was.
been a lot of misnomers, a lot of conflicting communication. I will admit that, but that doesn't say the conflicting communication goes ahead and says what we're dealing with is a non-human intelligence. If we have a non-human intelligence, I've seen videos of craft that are non-human intelligence and what was going on over the eastern seaboard, absolutely prosaic technology, advanced human technology. There is nothing that screams out and says what we're seeing is a non-human intelligence unless we're seeing something that's pretending it's something that it's not, but I can't go there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to take one other path here. If they are not intending to hurt us, which is a possible path, they're just observing, that may be a reason why they were not shot down or captured. But it goes back to what you said earlier. Could the president actually get on TV and say there is a force that we have no knowledge of how they operate?
What we saw happening on the eastern seaboard does not align to any of that whatsoever. It all aligns to prosaic technology. And if it says prosaic, looks prosaic, flaps like prosaic, and floats like prosaic, it's prosaic. We can cry and say we want this to be aliens and ETs and oh my gosh, so wonderful. But if it's not, it's not.
Well, time will tell. I guess one of us will have the right answer here when it's finally
eventually. And I don't care which way it is, one way or the other. I hope maybe you go or I go, but either way, we're both going to go.
Well, there you go.
Thank you, sir. Here we go.
Thank you.
United States, when they put out a new fighter, it just looks exactly like our previous generation of fighters. But look, I'm open to any possibilities. But when you think about the behavior and kind of the brazen display of this, I don't think any country would just float and highlight for all military eyes to see its most advanced technology for 17 nights, for example, over an Air Force base, a critical Air Force base. But hey, look, I'm open to it, and I think that's all the more reason. Let's remove the sourcing and origin of these objects and these incidents. Let's just treat this as a crisis, because it is. And frankly, the media has done an abysmal job of reporting on this, and kudos to you guys for covering it.
Well, thank you. And I tend to agree with you on the Chinese technology point. On the brazenness, they did fly a spy balloon across the entire continental U.S., so I guess anything is possible. Real quick, Mark.
Can I quickly just add on that? I'll just add on the Chinese spy balloon. I think we've now heard from President Biden and the former NORAD commander, and there's been reporting in the Washington Post that I think the consensus in the national security community is that spy balloon was intended to fly over Hawaii and Guam and was caught up in unseasonable winds. And that's I think we have now enough sources saying that that's what actually happened and that was not the intent. That's not to say China is a major adversary, and I'm not downplaying that, but I just want to be crystal clear on the data and the facts as we know them as they stand today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the update on that story. And Mark, thanks for joining us this morning on Rising.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, great interview, Mike, with Marik von Rennenkamp. It was something that I didn't anticipate for today.
Well, listen, he does make some interesting points. I agree.
Yeah.
But the reason why you're getting all the speculation is because the government failed to provide a logical, reasonable explanation to the public at large. And because they and the previous administration failed to do that. Now we see that history repeating itself, where the current administration is doing the same thing, going down the same path.
Yeah.
It's
Now, just
unfortunate.
one thing I do have here is a video from Attorney the EBEs, coming from Mike Morris, going ahead and saying 2 orbs that he filmed that moved in concert with each other, with one another. They literally stopped at one point and hung in the air. Yes, there were drones, but there were more objects that were going on besides the drones. And Mike, I believe this is something we had said what was going on, that there could be more things in the air besides the drones, that one of the reasons we're putting up all the drones is trying to go ahead and dissuade us from some of the activity that was going on at that time.
Well, it's certainly a possibility because we don't have any direct information to confirm or deny that. So we don't know. It's possible, but it's a big risk if this is a foreign adversary or if there really is UAP and they have to put out drones as a distraction. Not a good sign.
Yeah.
Either way.
It isn't, Mike. It truly isn't. Just to go ahead and give everybody an idea. And thank you very much, Mike Morris, for go ahead and sharing that clip. I've got another video here coming to us of Marik von Remmenkampf from about a little over a year or a year and a half ago of him talking about UFOs unlikely to be from China or Russia. So this is just some classic information coming from Marik von Remmenkampf to give everybody a little bit of, if you want to call it, context of who he is, what he's talking about, the kind of dialogue he has. Mike, you ready for it?
Oh, this should be good. Yeah, let's do it.
This is just a 1:33 clip, and then we've got None Ya Business and Mr. Joey B, who has their hands up next. Here we go.
It's why
lawmakers from both political parties say it is time to determine whether the objects pose a threat to the U.S. The report is expected to focus on whether the craft belonged to a U.S. adversary. Could Russia or China have developed what appears to be highly advanced technology? This is unlikely, says Marik von Remmenkampf, a defense analyst during the Obama administration.
China, we know, is struggling with basic jet engine technology. China relies on espionage to secure much of its advanced defense technology. Russia has a defense budget that is a fraction of the United States.
The report has been 6 months in the making, incorporating evidence available for many years. Indications are that intelligence officials are still not ready to reveal any firm conclusions.
seriously.
While there is reportedly no evidence of extraterrestrials, they have not been ruled out either.
From what I've heard from folks in the government, that there's not enough time to compile a coherent report on this issue. We don't have the analysis that we really need. This is a long-term project. I think it's a right step.
Adding to the intrigue, China has its own program studying UFOs, according to a recent South China Morning Post article in which a researcher names the U.S. as a possible source of the objects. Matt Dibble for VOA News.
So there we go, Mike. You know, Marik von Remmenkampf is someone who's been in this dialogue for the longest time, and it's great to see the kind of information he's trying to bring forward. If we can, let's get to...
He did a good job. Yeah, we have hands up back here.
Yeah, we have several hands up. Let's get to Susan Ford. None of your business first, and then Mr. Joey B.
You know, I think it's a combination of both. I think there are a lot more UAP flying around, so the government's put theirs up to confuse people as a cover-up.
Yeah, what do you think, Mike?
What I think is, like Abe pointed out, or Sergeant Daniel before, these objects over New Jersey, they weren't just buzzing elderly women's bathrooms in the middle of the night.
No.
They were shutting down emergency air traffic and international airports. That isn't a simple distraction.
Right.
That is a disruption.
Right,
So
but here's the thing, Mike.
Yeah.
If you are doing machine learning training of this technology, and you need the data to deal with all these potential situations, they may have put some risks for the general people in play as part of the requirements to get the data, more importantly, get the training. Because remember, these objects, when they were going back and forth, they just weren't going around and flying around and going random. They were, let's get this something white here. They were going back and forth in a grid pattern, like they were searching for something, but it just wasn't one. There were multiple ones out there at the same time having to interact with each other and with other things in the air. And if that's what you're trying to do, is to try and train an AI platform that can work autonomously, right?
Yeah.
You need data. And sometimes it sounds like our government may have, put the American psyche on watch by what was going on. Nobody was really hurt from the things. But remember, we actually did cover a craft that crashed. Remember, someone was driving along the highway, and they saw some things
Barrens
flying, and then they actually saw they actually went by it and saw that where there was a crashed craft.
Right. That's right. And we weren't sure if there was an actual recovery or not at
Right.
that time, because we never got confirmation.
And
from
we even
local
looked at
or
the
state
colors,
authorities.
and we had Corporal Abe commenting on the colors of the flames based on the materials that the aircraft was made out of, which made
Blue
sense.
flame. Right.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, that was interesting when that was all going on. We thought afterwards, if there was a recovery, we would have to get official notification out to the public, but that never happened.
Not at all. And there was another one that there was something else that crashed near a bridge. That one was fake. It actually wasn't the drone that came down. So we know of at least one that happened. And there were a bunch of different videos, and even some of the videos out there that I saw, they were like, oh my God, yes, that's something. Well, some of the stuff turned out to be literally a plane. Now, some of the stuff that was flying overhead that was moving really slow and really quiet and almost doing like 90-degree slow turns, coming back in the other direction, although they looked like commercial airliners, realistically, they sure as hell weren't. Because
Right.
I think a lot of this stuff, if I bring up this title page again from the show, Mike, here we go. These craft here, I think this is like the XP5, XP7 from Pterodynamics. That's PTERO, like Ptero, like you had the pterodactyl in the game. Remember, what was that? Joust.
Yeah, I remember that game. I used to play it.
Oh, yeah. Same thing, PTERO.
Yep.
Pterodynamics.
Right.
It just goes along with the whole thing that we're covering, and we just have to keep our eyes open to it. Now, I think I did get that one. Okay, Mocha, we've got that one. Now, Mike, we've been talking about the situation going on with the drones and everything that has been happening in the past, and what it was, what it wasn't. More, I think the biggest takeaway that we keep on saying is, we need to keep everything in a separate bucket, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be, and remember, grand prize game. You had a ping pong ball. You had to throw it into bucket 1, then bucket 2, bucket 3, and then bucket 4. And if you got it in bucket 5, you won the grand prize game, right?
Right.
You remember that, don't you?
I do.
The Bozo Show, WGN.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, yeah. And that's kind of what we're dealing with the same thing. It's just an analogy that we have to look at getting into it. So let's get into this video that we've got here again. Coming to us, FAA is actually going ahead and testing drone detection technology in New Jersey. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're actually following up with something.
Yeah, about time.
Absolutely.
Better late than never.
Here we go. Coming to us from NBC, I believe, New Jersey. Actually, NBC New York, Mike. You should be familiar with the channel. NBC4?
Channel 4, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we are looking up where the FAA says it receives more than 100 drone sighting reports near airports each month. And now the agency is putting drone detection systems to the test for the next couple of weeks. And they're doing it along the Jersey Shore. News 4's Ted Greenberg has a look.
At the Cape May Lewis Ferry Terminal, out of the ordinary action in the air.
They will see things that they haven't seen because this is testing that's new.
The FAA is using the terminal property as a drone detection testing ground. Several large drones and more than 100 of the smaller off-the-shelf variety will be launched here, flown over the water and near the ferry terminal through April 25th.
Drones can launch from the back part of our green behind the terminal and be immediately over water. So there's no, threat to, residential housing.
Sources say there's no connection between this testing and the widespread drone activity that led to hysteria last year. The White House later revealed those drone flights had been authorized by the FAA for research and other reasons. The work here is part of a larger effort to test drone detection systems at both airport and off-airport locations to not only measure their effectiveness, but also to determine if the technologies might interfere with FAA or aircraft navigation systems. The University of Alaska Fairbanks is heavily involved in this sort of research.
We are working on safely integrating drones with manned aircraft, traditional aircraft, in the airspace.
The operations will only be happening during daytime hours and on weekdays. Authorities say if you have a drone, don't fly it around here when the testing is underway.
Safety is the main priority.
Upwards of 40 people are taking part in the testing, some from very far away. Officials say their stay provides a pre-summer boost for Cape May County.
The economic impacts for this type of activity are immediate, and then there's also long-term.
A Jersey Shore transportation hub helping to make the skies safer. Ted Greenberg, News 4, New York.
Well, that's a positive step in the right direction.
But if you heard, they're focusing on off-the-shelf drones. That's certainly not what's been operating with impunity in New Jersey.
Right, but the drones that they have are the ones that are carrying sensors that are off-the-shelf technology. Sad part is daylight hours only during the week.
Right.
So any kind of detection you could have in the evening or all the different kinds, and we need to find out what kind of sensors do they have on these drones. Are they looking at IR or other visual spectrums, or are they just waiting through data that's composed mostly of visual sensors?
Well, if that's what they're doing, it's a waste of time and money for everybody.
Yeah, but it's still small steps. Small in the right direction. At least we've got more eyes in the sky, which we haven't had in a while. Everyone's ignored it for the longest time. Everyone's been focused on looking down at this versus looking at what's out there, not just with our eyes, but with our technology.
Yeah, but like you pointed out earlier in the show, Thomas, we have sensor systems in low Earth orbit that can detect a license plate number on the ground.
Oh, was it 10, 20 years ago? They could read the headlines on the newspaper.
Right.
Now they can read the byline, if not smaller.
Right. Right. So you mean to tell me that when this has been going on for as long as it was?
I mean, Mike, when they built the Hubble telescope, they built 3. Did you know that?
Yeah, one for the public and the other
one for the public
use.
For everything. That's why they had them when they needed spare parts for a long time ago. They had them miraculously. The difference was the optics. They had two of them that they never launched, unfortunately because of the Challenger blow up, and they were designed to look down on the planet.
Right.
That was the military. They got two, we got one for the public.
Right. So we know they have the capability today that they could see any objects, especially ones that are flying around over restricted airspace military facilities, and pretty much be able to identify exactly what those objects are. Not claim to be blind, deaf, dumb, and have no idea what these objects are, where they're coming from.
But more importantly, they have the technical ability to filter all of the data before it's presented to anybody. That's the key.
Well, that was the Immaculate Constellation program that we covered here on the show, which was a executive branch, presidential special access program, not one out of the Department of Defense or the Pentagon.
Right.
So we know they exist. That's come out publicly. So we know they have this information. And didn't the current president make a statement when he was campaigning that the government knows exactly what they are and there's no reason why they're not telling the public? He did. He made that statement. But we never got that answer.
I've got a video clip. I haven't played. I've got a couple.
Let's play it.
I will play it, but yeah, there's just so many things with Disclosure, Mike. It's like wash, rinse, repeat. We keep on hearing the same old stories, the same thing going on. Now, this is a clip of, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna eat and download first. Bring this clip up. Okay.
Ask them.
So, while the intent is right, the dialogue is off. So this is a speech that Christopher Melon gave 2 months ago at the Val Symposium. I don't think we've ever seen this clip. It just came out today. So
let's play it.
When Christopher talks about CNN, it's actually Fox News. Just change that for your mind. But it's I would say a truthful accounting of disclosure and where it should be going.
Breadcrumbs, right?
Well, yeah, breadcrumbs, or just listen to the words. It's right on there. So let's go ahead and play this one. This one's coming from Neil Goodman at Neil__Goodman. Christopher Melon on non-released UAP videos. So let's go ahead and just watch this. I think you guys will enjoy this. Today's show, and all right. Go.
I said, I know this sounds crazy, but please listen to what these guys have to say.
Let me get this audio right. It's too quiet. One more time.
First intelligence committees asked them, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but please listen to what these guys have to say. We brought then the Navy pilots in, and that's what really worked. Those were the guys that had the credibility. So when the Navy pilots came in and ran through their experiences and talked to senators through this, and they began to see some of the other evidence, and of course they're also then able to get some of the classified information that complements, reinforces, expands on some of this. There are lots of other videos. So, for example, this is one of numerous F-18 cockpit at-flare videos. I've seen some of the others. And why they're not released to the public, so I was investigated for having released these, and the Air Force Office of Special Investigations confirmed this was unclassified, didn't compromise national security. I would argue that it advanced national security because it made us aware of a potential threat that wasn't being addressed so that we could begin working to close that vulnerability. And yet they have, I don't know at this point, how many dozens like this that they still haven't released. So the executive order on classification says, when in doubt, you should make it unclassified. And I can't imagine what lawful basis they have for classifying that after they publicly acknowledged that this did not damage national security. And that's a small example of a larger issue. So the new CIA director, when he was director of national intelligence, acknowledged on CNN that we have satellite imagery of UAP. And I've seen some of that as well. And some of that is even more compelling, perhaps.
So, Mike, it was interesting conversation coming from Christopher Melon, but it's a similar dialogue, but the guy just talks truth. What do you think?
I think he confirmed the point we made when we were talking about the drones a moment ago. I think he said that the government has sensors and satellites that can detect objects like this. So that establishes what we said as being true. So if that's the case, then why the hell haven't they released to the public any of the information about these objects over New Jersey and elsewhere?
Right.
Why have they failed to do that? As far as the previous administration is concerned, we covered this extensively on the show during that time, and that's because the previous administration was not pro-disclosure and did everything in their power to suppress it. So why are we still in the dark now under the new administration? We really shouldn't be. The points that Christopher Mellon makes is true. It's accurate.
Yeah.
I think it applies both logically and legally.
Yeah.
So why the hell aren't they releasing information like this?
Right.
Nothing should be preventing
Well,
them. That's the point, right?
It's the media team. Let's leave it at that. So at the time, DNI Ratcliffe, and I responded to this one, was on Fox News Sunday with Maria Bartiromo. I was not aware of Ratcliffe ever mentioning that on CNN, and that's just my little part because every single time that we've gone and dealt with this, Mike, we've shown the interview with DNI Ratcliffe and Maria Bartiromo, we get a copyright strike because it's someone who has a invalid and illegal content ID, but it's something that just, YouTube tolerates as part of their machine.
Right. So that information is not easily put out publicly because if it is, there's going to be repercussions and a copyright strike for replaying it.
Yeah.
Even though it is news.
Right. And you should be able to play
it.
And there's no reason you should get if you want to call it someone who wants to go ahead and capture your revenue because you played a clip of something that's from major news media. But if we can, he's been very patient. Mr. Joey B., you have your hand up.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
Not bad. How are you, Joey?
Okay, I've been watching for a while. I live on the central Jersey shore. I live about 10 miles north of Sandy Hook, which has a Coast Guard base on it. But I'm about 4 traffic lights away from Earl's Naval Weapons Station.
Yeah.
And back in early November, a lot of weird things was going on. I mean, I'm 51 years old. I've been living here my entire life. And, you can see where I live. You can look up and see the approaches for Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK. And I mean, there was one immediately following when we started seeing this, we were noticing that Earl had spotlights in the sky, kind of like what you would see at like a Hollywood movie premiere. Now, I've never seen that before the years I've been living here. I've been here forever. And they had what looked like, naval helicopters with spotlights, like they were looking for something. What it is, I don't know. I mean, it was very strange. And, it was a regular occurrence. I mean, you could see, sure, there was misidentified planes flying overhead by a lot of people, but what some of us seen was just like the pictures you saw a few minutes ago of like just the 2 dots flying overhead. They were like 100 feet over our houses and they're just sitting there. And I'm only minutes away from a naval weapons station. And, after 9/11, you weren't getting anywhere near Earl or Fort Monmouth for that matter, let alone flying something over the base. And, I had heard that the FAA stopped flights landing in LaGuardia because these things were interfering. Now,
we actually covered that live when it was going on.
Now, if the government knew about that, why would the FAA allow that? I mean, come on, we're in a post 9/11 area with the planes and all that. I'm not saying it was China. I mean, I don't know. I know no more than anybody else.
But it's not like they were blaring the air raid sirens. They were throwing fighters into the air to intercept any of this stuff. There was no military involvement for what was going on. And so if there was something coming from a foreign government, you would expect our military to try and intercept it. But it was missing, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, part of it. Look, again, I'm not any kind of a military analyst, but I mean, I read a book by Annie Jacobson called Area 51, and it focused more on like the SR-71 Blackbird and the Archangel and Stealth. And what I'm trying to say is that presidents in the book, they didn't always get told everything. Like apparently in the book, Bill Clinton wanted to know all about it, and he was told, "You're just the president; it's none of your business." I mean, it's maybe they aren't being everything. I mean, maybe that's a stretch, but like I said, a lot of weird things took place over here. We were kind of like right in the middle of it, and very strange time.
Is it still going on for you at this point in time?
I haven't seen anything lately. I have been looking up, but it's like you know, it hasn't been as bad. But I mean, you know, back in November, it's like you just go outside and usually after dusk you could see it. I mean, you would see 2, even 3 of them just sitting less than 100 feet over your house, and you know, they don't look like the drones that you just showed with Cape May Luz Ferry, because I've been on that ferry many a times, because it's just, these things are huge. They're like the size of a car, and you know, it's just what it is. I just personally don't believe it was hobbyists flying over a naval.
Hell no.
This rumor Earl is a nuclear weapons station. And if you Google Earth Earl and you look back towards the Tinton Falls area where I used to live, you could see silos in the ground. I can't believe that they're willingly allowing these things to fly over the bases. And another thing, that years ago, when Earl would have like practice runs with their helicopters, they would actually have like a reverse 911 phone call and notify the people in the area that we're doing this till about 11 o'clock at night, and then they would stop. They've done that before. There was no information, and it just went on. And you know, Governor Murphy, who his concern of keeping us safe is not important. He's more worried about raising taxes. But I mean, you know, we just were kept in the dark out here, and people were just really freaked out about it.
Oh, heck
really
yes. No, I have a video up going of the Terradynamics X-P4, which is one of the technologies we may have seen over the eastern seaboards. Now, granted, that's just painted in plain, if you want to call it, grays and blacks and everything, like it'd be for military. But if they were going ahead and deploying these craft, they could easily go ahead and paint them to make them look more like traditional, like aircraft, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm looking up on my TV if you're wondering why I'm looking like that.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like it said. Plus, they also said that there was also rumors, again, nobody knew anything. It was just speculation that there was radioactive material that escaped from Port Elizabeth off of a boat.
Well, it just wasn't there. You know, there was a possibility of being that, or some kind of biological material, some kind of weapon of mass destruction that could have been going on the East Coast at a period of time, especially leading up to the presidential inauguration. And even at that time, right before they canceled the whole external event, they brought it inside. There was on major news channels coverage of craft from the Air Force, or actually from Homeland Security, sweeping DC for potential nuclear material. It all adds up. Something was going on, and they got a tip, and it looks like they let it get off the boat into the country.
Yeah, and another thing is strange is that, I mean, let's just say there was some kind of radioactive material was taken out of Port Elizabeth. I just find it hard to believe that a radioactive threat, they would not go during the day. I just don't believe that they don't have equipment to fly during the day to check for radiation. I mean, we walked on the moon 55 years ago. You know,
I guess it depends on what you're trying to find in the sensors we have and the resolution it needs, and the overall, if you want to call it. Now, this is just the XP4 platform. There's like at least two levels of this technology that goes beyond what we're seeing on this video. So this has been like videos of the technology as it is today, or let's just say it 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was really strange. I mean, like I said, they were all over the place. I mean, yeah.
Well, when you saw those lights, Joey, over Earl, we were covering this on the show. Right. And I can tell you that at that time, there were 10 objects that were directly over Earl when those lights were up. And they didn't know what the hell they were.
I saw something. So did my daughter and a friend of mine. And I'm not crazy because other people seen it. So we were coming home, a few of us from work were coming home from the gun range one night down in Lakewood. And I'm driving home and we see like a shooting star of green tracer blasting across the sky. And then my buddy calls me and he's about 5 miles ahead of me on the car saying, "Did you see that, Bubba?" And he's going crazy. And then later that night, I'm looking out towards Earl with my daughter. We saw the same thing again. I never seen stuff like that before. It's just weird. You know, I don't have answers for it. It's just never seen anything like that before. And, you know.
And obviously neither does the government, because they haven't provided any explanation to the public about this at all, including local officials like your local mayors and the police.
But Mike, when it comes to any kind of a situation where it could be a military situation going on or it could be a non-human intelligence situation, our government is not the most transparent to the people. It seems like we're going to tell you the information we want you to know to keep on doing your job and don't worry about stuff. We've got this.
Yeah, except they don't. And they don't know what the hell's going on.
No.
That's what it seemed like.
That's why sometimes I wonder if maybe it is a foreign adversary. Again, I don't know more than anybody. I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just, you hear all sorts of things.
You know, it comes down to the location and the situation and everything that goes into it. Because, again, everybody wants to throw it all in the same freaking bucket. But it's not. You have different classes of events that are going on and different types of, intelligence or counterintelligence that would say what would be the reason, what goes in each bucket, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Thomas. You're correct about that.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to an earlier point. If there is no official explanation, then all you're going to get is a lot of speculation, because that's all there is at that point.
That's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we still do. We still never got any real answers to anything that was going on. And it's still going on by reports of people that are in New Jersey that claim at night they're still seeing these objects over their homes. So it hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I've got something I want to bring up. It's part of my feed for tonight's show. But it's something that I had talked about back in 2021 when this came out. This is in the early days of Disclosure Tonight.
Yeah.
I had a different group of people that I worked with at the time. And, all right. So, come on, let's get this here. Why is this time? Here we go. So, this came from Wixie. This is back in 2021. They come in all sizes. Down here to this one here. Let's take it down to full. This was captured in the sugarcane fields in Australia on a security camera on July 31st, 2021. So you've got one frame. So there's the overall video clip coming from the security camera, but there's a blip that happens when the video is being played, actually being captured. It captures this. Remember how there's that one conversation we've talked about, Mike, where that if humanity realized how pervasive the non-human intelligence is around us, we lose it?
We did. We had that private conversation about this very thing.
Right. Well, guess what? That conversation happened back in 2021 too. And guess what? Based on this, it was the same answer.
Of course it was.
So you've got it. Security place. Here we go. Going from 12:51:15 right up here, top 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There you go. One frame. You get it. And then it's gone. And you say, why is it that way? And you know why, Mike? Because
Why?
it's moving that fast.
Right.
You can't see it with your eyes. It's moving at a different rate of time than we are. But they're all around us. I haven't seen this since then. But this is real.
Oh, it is, because that private conversation we
Yes.
had, if the public was aware and able to see these objects, as many of them as there are, right overhead every day,
Right.
The public would shit themselves.
But you know who said that before, Lou?
Who?
Ted Rowe.
Oh, well, Ted
The
was right,
same guy,
obviously.
Ted Rowe, that I brought up that tweet that he replied to today, talking
Yeah.
about the non-human intelligence, and don't ever give them any kind of thought of anything that represents humanity, because they're not, they're alien.
Right.
Anything that takes humans, abuses them, assaults them, kidnaps them, and more.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with.
Right. And what Ted was saying was correct. And you and I got confirmation of that from government sources.
Now, I could ask Tim to call in. Tim. Tim was in
Ted.
some of those conversations. He was
Okay.
there, and he asked some hard questions at different points. So, Tim knows. And again, once I'm done, you just look at the situation and you just go to it, and you just can't go ahead and say, well, at that point in time, those conversations didn't happen. More importantly, they did. And I guess it's just up to us, Mike, to go ahead and bring out the truth in some of the harder conversations of truth.
Right. Because we try to bring truth and transparency out to the public, and they have a right to know.
And that's one thing we try to do, Mike. We try to bring forward the truth wherever we can.
We do. And we go as far as we can to get that information and access to it, because the public doesn't have that degree or level of access or that information. But we try to keep them informed, which is why we do what we do, and try to make sure that they know what's going on. And it doesn't seem like it's improved or anything has gotten any better in regards to this. It seems like an ongoing issue without any answers, and it's still going at the same pace that it always has been. This is something that we hope at one point the government will address. They're supposed to. They made promises to do that, especially with the current administration. Now it's just a matter of, are we going to get some of those answers? And if not, then you and I will do our best to get answers that we can get.
In a way
and
that
provide
everybody
to the
can
public.
understand this, let's encourage our president to eat more cheeseburgers. Eat enough, it'll give you the shits, and hopefully we'll get disclosure out of it.
That's absolutely
I
correct.
have no idea where the hell that one came from, but it was just there, and you just have to sometimes just... It's
Oh,
Mike, it's like if you
absolutely.
have a latte. Oh my gosh, I have to bring this up, on that note. It's a good one to follow. Where the hell was I? Let's go ahead and bring this up here. Video. All right. All right. So, there's a potential big solar storm heading our way starting on Tuesday, April 15th. So not today, but tomorrow. and there could be a big like solar event happening. So if you're in the upper United States, or you are one of our terror friends from the United States to Canada, there could be some great aurora borealis. So, oh God, is he still here? No, he's gone. He's gone to bed because he has to work. Seeker. Yeah. Michael Sokoloff. If it's clear tomorrow, you may have a aurora borealis to go ahead and see. All right. One piece that we haven't covered, Mike.
Yeah.
You brought this up earlier today. Remember the dire wolves we had?
Yes, that's right. That was
NECA
biologics.
and Ida, the world's first cloned red ghost wolf. She is a rare coyote and red wolf mix, matching the ancestral DNA that was once lost. So it looks like we've got a bunch of different dogs that are getting mixed together and bred and coming forward from ancient breeds that have been lost because of
extinction,
global catastrophes. I believe most of the different DNA they're finding is coming like out of Siberia, and Siberia had a sudden freezing event where all the wildlife and everything was there. We had wolves, you had lions, you had woolly mammoths, all the different stuff that was there. All of it got like frozen, right? And the easiest thing for them to bring forward without heavy regulation is a bunch of different canine varieties of life. And you know, interesting thing about it, isn't it funded by Brandon Fugel from Skinwalker Ranch? He's one of the people who's behind it.
Yep, that's right. He is.
Right. So they're calling it de-extinction. They have the ability to go ahead and create new breeds using CRISPR technology and some of the DNA from animals that are from a long time ago to go ahead and bring these things back. Also biosciences, yeah, it's a puppy dog.
What it looks like, very cute.
Yeah, like Luke is saying, before he noticed Jurassic Park.
Oh God, I hope not.
Oh, come on, we'd love to see dinosaurs, wouldn't we? Velociraptor, or it's more like Velocichicken. Oh my God, imagine if they brought it back and they started selling it at Popeyes or KFC.
Yeah, well, it's not actually a bird. It's incarnations of birds when they were still lizards. I don't know how that would taste. A raptor.
Hey,
Kentucky
you know what they usually
raptor.
Mike, you know what they usually say?
Tastes like chicken.
Exactly. This is the kind of conversation we need to have. It gets like to our regular phone calls. Okay, so I haven't played this one. But we'll play it now anyway. This is coming from UAP James. Granted, we had the great story talking about what's going on in New York, coming from NBC 4.
Yes, Channel 4.
There was a short 26-second clip that was shared by UAP James, but I thought the other one was a little bit better. But you know what? Since we have some time, let's play through it anyway.
Sure.
Drones to test out new drone detection technology. Those flights will take place near Cape May, New Jersey, over a 2-week period beginning Monday. There was a spike in mystery drone sightings in the Garden State late last year and near major airports in some other states. The FAA says it plans to conduct similar tests in New Mexico, North Dakota, and Mississippi.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that they were doing these tests, Mike, in all those different areas. So we actually did learn something different.
Yeah, some new information on this.
Yeah. Will Underwood, welcome to the show, my friend. What say you?
Hello, Thomas. Oh my gosh, I'm giddy with happiness to actually be talking to you and also be on here right now.
Oh, thanks for calling, and that's what it's for.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have a good piece of information for you. Is that that drone video that was actually shot in Massachusetts? It was the triangular one.
No,
Yeah,
not
it's on
actually.
Reddit. So what ended up happening was that we had drones around, and I'm over in I'm also a asshole too. I'm over by like the Worcester area. But so what ended up happening was I ended up hearing one night, and literally went directly above our house, and I'm not even kidding you. The thing was the size of a Suburban. And what ended up happening was that I was like, wait, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And then all of a sudden, my fiance is driving back home from work. She is recording the video, and you can see it, but she accidentally nails the curb slightly, but because she was watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so over here, she actually talked to one of the she works over at PetSmart, so she had some people coming by, and there was a Homeland person that was actually over there during the times of the drones. This is back over a couple of months ago and everything. And it was just strange because we were seeing it all over on the news, and then all of a sudden we started seeing them over here, over in our area. And the funny part was we checked the flight radar and everything, nothing.
Right. Well, a
So
lot of the
it's just
situation
weird.
that happened, it started from one particular area, but over the period of time, it seemed to spread out to more and more different areas over time.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that when I was just like, wait, and the weird part, if you actually take a look at it on Reddit, it's difficult to see the propellers on it. That's the weird part where I was just like, okay, that's just
Yeah, but you've seen some of the videos I've been playing with regards to the XP4 from Terra Dynamics. It does have kind of a look of a traditional airplane, but then again, it has multiple wings that can go ahead and change between orientations. So it just gives you an idea of what the potential technologies that are out there for some of the thing to align to some of the stuff that we're seeing.
yeah, because actually my family is actually very, very heavily military oriented. I was decided not to do it because not to, yeah, not for me. But
Yeah.
my great grandfather was actually commander of the Arizona, naval governor of Guam, and Portsmouth naval commander. And so like my mom's family is all military and everything. So my mom guides towards people that are like that. Funny enough, my stepfather that passed away, Thomas J. O'Neill, has patents to the ICBMs.
Oh, wow.
On like the defense systems and everything. Yeah, he worked for Avco during the Cold War. And funny enough, now my mom's dating another guy that worked with him in the same area. And yeah, I wanted to ask if I could talk to you about that at some point private because I got something interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to go ahead and have a conversation off air.
Yes, definitely, because it was one of those ones that it's just, yeah, it's maybe the government's more weirder than you think.
Well, there's nothing too weird for our government because a lot of the stuff that actually is going on is kept from everybody, particular purview and understanding of what they want to tell us versus what we actually know.
Yeah, and right now, out of anything, what we really honestly need, if anything, in this world right now is hope.
Yeah.
Yep. Conversation, connection, communication, and doing what you're doing right here. And thank you. I thank you so much, and thank you too, Mike.
Yeah. Absolutely, Mike. I think Mike.
Absolutely. No. I'm right here. I got it.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you, though. Honestly, for both you guys on this show and everything you do, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely,
Oh no,
Mike.
thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate that, Will. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my fiance's. Actually, I got her face down over in the bed right now just because she's like, "Oh boy, you're talking to him."
Absolutely.
But anyways, thank you so much for letting me talk, and yeah, I'll send you an email or something. Okay.
Yeah, no, just hang out after the show. We'll connect and everything, and just deal with it. And Mike, I have to say, happy freaking Monday.
Oh,
you
yeah.
believe 2 hours could go so quickly? Well, almost 2 hours. You know what? We're getting towards the end of the night, and it's just one of the points of time you have to say, well, 5 o'clock comes way too early. So I want to thank everybody for coming out for tonight's show. More importantly, I want to thank everybody.
Before we wrap up, I think we have one quick public service announcement to the public out there about sometimes that they have to be careful of the scams that can occur on social media. Like, I believe there's an account that you have information on that is using the block function to extort money from people.
Oh my God. Are you talking about Captain Kirk?
I am, yes. We should share that information with the public so that they've been warned properly.
William Shatner has a Twitter account, and he's blocked a lot of people. And he's saying right now, if you go ahead and donate $500 to his cause, which is for his little dog, is the horses, right?
Correct, horse charity.
Horse charity. He will go ahead and unblock you if you have qualified of being blocked. And honestly, qualifying of being blocked from William Shatner, Mike, you get it for free and you can never give it back. So why would you pay to get unblocked from William Shatner?
Because there are a lot of fans of Mr. Shatner's that are willing to pay that money so that he will unblock them. And that was, I got to tell you, I didn't know that the block and unblock function on social media could be used for such type of monetary gain. You got to say he's at least come up with a new one.
Mike?
Yeah.
To say it, by definition, William Shatner is a grifter. Oh, I said it, but you know what? But by definition, I am sorry. We love you, Bill.
We do.
We love Jim.
Yes.
We love even Denny Crane. How can he not love Denny Crane? You know Denny Crane, right?
Yes.
Boston Legal?
I know Denny. Yes, Boston Legal.
What? That's like that's the epiphany of like William Shatner.
He did a great job on that. But he was at least at 94 able to come up with a way to try to squeeze money and do a money grab from the public.
But he's not going ahead and actually trying to get you to go ahead and send your ashes as moon crystals to the moon. Remember those, don't you? He tried to sell that as wild too. You get turned into a crystal, you die. They take your ashes, turn you into a crystal, and then they put you in a rocket, and they're going to launch you to the moon. But I think the last one, they actually missed the moon, and the people are kind of going out into the middle of the galaxy. Hey, is there an upgrade? Did they have to pay for that?
I think it was a complete and total mistake.
Yeah.
And they got the bonus plan, it seemed like.
Oh, bonus plan. Before we go, Ed Brown.
Well, I will probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but do you remember earlier in the show you were talking about Jeff Bezos' ship, describing it as a vibrator, I believe. Is that correct?
Oh, I said it was a blue penis,
some people said it looks like a giant penis. I say, well, it looks like more like a giant vibrator. But yes, I've always said that.
William Shatner rode in that vibrator, so to speak. He was one of the first passengers, you recall that.
And it made him cry. But you know what? What he has actually for now? He wants to go to Mars on the first trip with Elon Musk.
No, he agreed to become a citizen of Mars and permanently leave the planet Earth. Elon Musk invited him to do it, and he said that if
he would go, but here's the thing, Mike, that means Trump is going to be in office for a really long time.
But here's what Elon promised Bill. He told him that if he was to join him and leave the Earth and become a citizen of Mars, that Elon would create Shatner City for him for all eternity. So he would be down in the history books. I think that was one of the reasons why Bill agreed to do it. Well, that and being 94 years old, obviously. He has nothing left to lose.
Shatner's, it kind of sounds like the stuff that you find on the inside of a toilet.
Shatner City. Oh, please. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people would want to go there for a tourist attraction?
Oh, I know.
They'd get them. They'd
Yeah.
go. Yeah. So this is our public service
Gotta
announcement.
love humanity, Mike. We're all a part of it, no matter whether we like it or not. We're all humans.
Oh, both good or bad.
And
Yes,
maybe we will get that event that'll bring everybody together as humans and screw the borders, screw the races, screw everything, and just say we're all humans. And if we don't all frickin' team up and come together, we're done.
Wait. Don't you mean humans? We're all humans?
Oh, do I have them here? No,
You
but I've
should.
got this one.
Okay? These fuckers have fucked my life over.
I thought I had the humans, but I don't have them, but
Another time. We'll pull that clip for the next show.
absolutely.
It's
And
been
Mike,
a while.
as we usually say at the end of every episode, actually, you know what? I haven't done this yet. I want to thank Nancy Kuzmano for the super chat, along with Anonymous Rex, Gizmo, Nancy Kuzmano again, and along with Ashes on Air. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, everybody. And as we usually say, Mike, at the end of every episode of Disclosure Tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
Go back to Party City where you belong.
absolutely, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now here.